Welcome to episode number 390 of Get Paid for Your Pad. So today I have another Legends X student on the call. Super excited. His name is Sean McGregor. He's the CEO of Stay, Work, and Play, or in short, SWAP, which is also right behind him on the. We're doing this on video, so if you want to check it out on YouTube, you'll see SWAP is the brand name. So. Sean, super excited to have you on the podcast. We're going to talk about how you scaled a remote co-hosting business while maintaining a five-star guest experience. So I'm excited to dive into it. Sean, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Jasper. Definitely listened to your podcast quite a bit over the last year and a half during COVID, like while running around with our little 3.5-year-old. And, I've gotten so much from all the other guests and from you, and, I've loved being part of Legends X, and I'm excited to be on the show so I can hopefully give some information to the other listeners and just help everyone, thrive in this business.
Absolutely. Love that. Yeah, I'm excited to dive into it. Well, first, let's go all the way back to when you got started. Like, how did you get into short-term rentals?
So this is where I have to give Lindsey a ton of credit. When we first started dating 6.5 years ago, she did the thing where she had her 2-bedroom condo, and in the other bedroom, there were 2 strangers. Like, what? And she was renting out her extra bedroom, paying for her, basically her entire unit. And what I thought was most genius about it was whenever she would go travel, she'd rent out both rooms and it would basically pay for her travel. And so that was like very eye-opening to me, like, oh my God, you're hacking the system like a champion. This is unbelievable. Well, little did I know, like our probably 7th date, she's like, hey, I have this new space downtown Austin, and I still want you to come over and hang out, but can you help me unpack some boxes? And so I go down to this warehouse that she had converted with these wood partitions, set it up into multiple different rooms, and there were IKEA boxes everywhere. And she had read the 4-Hour Work Week. She actually did the thing where she did 15 months around the world solo travel while working remotely. And she, had such a great experience whenever she'd be in a place like a hostel where you come to town by yourself without, knowing anybody. And if you're in an area with other solo travelers, you get to connect with them, have someone to go out to dinner with, experience it with, and then you have like a much richer experience than if you're just, in a hotel room by yourself watching TV. So that was the first location. Quickly, a couple months into that, I found myself helping more and more, like, meeting all these incredible people from around the world, going out to dinner with them, having drinks. And like my main thing was like always connecting the different people. Cause when you first walk in and there's 6 other guests, you're definitely wide eyed. So I'd love to be there and be like, hey, Jonathan, meet Sue, blah, 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 blah. And then help them ease into it, pair up. And then almost every single time, 4 days later when they left, they'd be like, oh my God, I had the best time. I'm going to hang out with him in Peru. And, it was just, a nonstop connection friend factory that she had created. And so 2 months in, I started taking over all the running of that. In March, about a year after we started dating, we decided to move in together, and the business was going so well downtown that we decided for our second location, well, we love meeting all the people, and, it's amazing to be able to travel and rent out our room. So why don't we get a place where we can also expand that business? So that's the house I'm in right now. It's 5 minutes away from Terry Black's, which is, I know, one of your favorite places. And so, this was our second location. We ended up having a third location, and ended up getting to where there were 35 different guest beds, all in shared rooms from all over the world. And I was the one person that was like managing all the Airbnb messages, just like pulling my hair out a little bit. But because it was getting so big, and because there were so many guests coming through and so much fun, that's how I initially started to develop my systems and, kind of hone things. The first time I experienced doing it remotely was right after we moved into this house, our second location. We were going on a family trip to Spain and Portugal with her parents. And so we wanted to go, but we had only opened the second location a month before, and we didn't know how it was going to go. We were like, oh my God, we've always been there to like go down and make the beds, or, get the toilet paper when we need to. So all of a sudden, like, all right, well, we can't miss this opportunity to go to Spain and Portugal with all your family. So let's just give it a shot. We're only gonna be gone 13 days. We'll see how it goes. And so we got over there because of the 6-hour time difference. It was actually kind of amazing because you could have a full day of kind of exploring, send all the guests the messages at 1 o'clock your local time, get the info early. And you know what? Things worked. And it was incredible. And we were like having this business run while we were, an entire sea away. Things were working out well. And so what happened was at the day when we were supposed to fly back with her family on day 13, at the airport, she's like, well, we're already over here and things are working. I think we could keep it going. And so we ended up traveling for 3 months together after that. And just like, all right, well, we got it up and running, so let's give it a shot. And then just from there, just did the amazing solo travel thing of looking up the price ticket, the airline tickets, finding the best price. We're at a coffee shop in Amsterdam. Do we stay here another night? Or, oh my God, we can go to Greece for $120. All right, let's go. And just did the whole one-way ticket thing floating around. So that whole experience was amazing. There were definitely some gaps in there where, at our house in Austin, we had, keys, and we had a lockbox full of like 8 or 9 keys. And slowly over that 3-month period, people would take their key and, kind of wander off. And we had one guy that showed up, midnight our time, where there was no key and he had to check into a hotel. So that's why from now on, definitely lock boxes only. But the whole process of that business was incredible. We got to meet so many amazing people. At one point in late 2018, we got a letter from the city because we didn't necessarily check all the boxes when we started it. And so the entire process of 2019 and the beginning of 2020 was, okay, we know this business works. We know how to run it. Let me back up one little tiny important detail. November 11th, 2017, our son Jackson was born. And so that was a whole nother, all of a sudden, constraint where even when we were in town, hey, I can't go down and change beds ever. We have a baby, we got to be here together doing this thing. And so it was, all throughout like our kind of history and our story, it's all about the little constraints that occur that all of a sudden force you into innovation, where you're like, okay, well, you know what, we're going to have one of the people downtown that's staying there, say at a discounted rate, and then they can change a few beds here and there, and then we'll have the cleaners go more frequently. Lo and behold, better guest experience because of that. I'm just spending more time with my kiddo. Found out automatic messaging about that point as well, because it was like, man, it's too much to deal with 35, different guests checking in and out by myself. And so that was also a game changer. It was just really an incredible experience going through the whole thing. But we got that letter. Then we went through the process of like, okay, where are we going to find a new location? Dabbled in Nashville, dabbled in looking at a new downtown location in February 2020. We were super close to signing a lease. Thank God that didn't happen, because we would have gotten crushed with COVID, because shared rooms are obviously not a very popular thing. So March rolls around. We're like, oh my God. We had a few people staying with us at that point in our house. Like, all right, this thing is real. You should go back to where you're from, your different locations. And so all of a sudden we had this like very expensive house that, prime location and everything, but before we had it all supplemented with other people staying here. And Lindsey, her business is American Dance Training Camps, which is overnight dance camps for girls 8 to 17 years old, and summer camps where it's a sleepaway camp in all these different locations, also shut down during COVID. So her business was on pause. My business was on pause. The SWAP was on pause. And so it was like, okay, how do we pivot? What can we do? And there was this really random like Facebook message that came through from the Daily Stoic. And it talked about alive time or dead time. And it talked about like all these different innovators through history that during like the plague, when they had that like forced solitude where they had to just like take a pause from everything, they, made these incredible innovations and discoveries. And just hearing that at the right time, kind of just like, all right, well, this sucks. And, I really love being around people, and we can't do that right now. But now I've always wanted to have extra time to work on my business and spend with my family. So, okay, let's see what we can do with this. And, previously we had I'd rented a family property that was kind of, on the selling block, like, well, very expensive. No one goes there. I don't think we can afford it. And so at that point, I jumped in. It was like, well, I'm really good at this Airbnb thing. I know your property's in Florida, but I think I could run it. I mean, I do the same thing. I've done it from all these different countries already. And so that one all of a sudden started making more money than it ever has. Will definitely be around for a long time. And so when COVID hit and all of a sudden I had to be forced into a new business, I just was like, all right, well, at this point, I've already have 2,000 reviews. I have all these systems in place. I know how to make sure the guests have an incredible time. I can do it remotely because I've done it from dozens of countries at this point with a baby. And so, yeah, I mean, it was kind of go time. And I just kind of like went on those little Facebook message groups and things. And someone was like, hey, I have this property, but I don't, is anybody a property manager, or is anybody someone that can host a business remotely or just host a business? I would throw my hat in the ring with a little screen cap of our reviews and, all the things we've done. And yeah, one property led to, like, I have 3 main property owners right now. One has a property in like the San Antonio Canyon Lake area. And I did so well with them that all of a sudden they have a new one in North Carolina, which I can run because I can do everything remotely. Another one has a place just south of Austin. We're talking about expanding to different locations. And then the other lady has 8 different properties around Texas that I'm managing right now. And that's one thing, because I've been able to do all this stuff remote, I can expand with these different owners that, have these properties just kind of sitting there underperforming, and I can just jump in there and be like, all right, well, it works here. My system works here. Let's go to the next place, the next place, the next place. So yeah, man, it's been an awesome ride. And that was a 25-minute rant.
I was going to say, all right, well, this is
yeah,
this is it
this
for
is
the
it.
podcast. Great to have you on.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not quite there yet.
No, man. And I mean, I'm happy to discuss some of my actual systems of doing it also.
Yeah, now there's a lot to digest. I wanna go back to a couple of things that you said. Number one is The Daily Stoic. That's one of my favorite books. I love those ancient lessons from the Greek philosophers, Marcus and Marcus Aurelius, the former Roman emperor. That's a really cool book. So highly recommend everybody who's listening, check it out. The Daily Stoic. It has 1 lesson per day. So you can have a whole year where every morning you get inspired by these amazing minds. So that's really cool. Number 2 is I wanted to quickly talk about, because I know you expanded into different areas and you're managing everything remotely. So one question that often comes up is, when you're managing something remotely and you're talking about places that you personally haven't even been to, right?
Right.
How do you find the people on the ground?
Okay, so the first thing you need to always have is an incredible cleaning team. And I mean, this business does not go if you have bad cleaners or cleaners that aren't, invested in making sure the property stays looking good, because they are your eyes and ears the entire time. So my first kind of go-to is Thumbtack. It's somewhere where you can, well, let me set this up a little better. First thing I do is I take photos of the place, and not just photos, I also get a 3D tour made by the photographer. And what that allows me to do is, because I'm not physically in that city or that location where I can actually be in the house, if I have that 3D tour, I can actually walk through that house a million times if I want to. And what that also allows me to do is when I post on Thumbtack, I can post that 3D tour on my description for like what I'm looking for. And instead of having 10 different cleaners come through the property to quote it, they can look at that 3D tour, walk through it, and then based on the reviews and the quotes I get, I narrow it down to 2 or 3 to actually go take a look and actually, give me a price. On top of that, if the owner does live in the area and is at the house, what I have them do is I have them go through with a video and set up the property exactly how they want it. I do the 3D tour, but also if they have any particular things, like I want the blinds halfway up, halfway down, I want to make sure that this little elephant figurine is over on this corner. I have them kind of document every single area in the room that's important to them. And so that way, when I do hire the cleaner and they can, they do have like multiple people that can definitely get the job done on the same day, I always have all that information for them to where if a new cleaner comes in, they can set it up based on the 3D tour, or they can watch those videos if they ever have questions and get the exact, reason the owner wants it a certain way and how they want it. And that's been just completely invaluable.
You mentioned the site called Thumbtack. What is that about exactly?
Thumbtack's incredible. It has handymen, plumbers, photographers. It's where I find almost all of my on-the-ground people. And what you do is you just type in photographer and your zip code, and you'll get to see all these different photographers, all reviewed by people that have worked with them in the past. So you can really quickly tell, like, okay, this person has 96 5-star reviews, and people, like, you read the reviews and how good they are. You're like, all right, well, Leslie's probably pretty amazing. I'm gonna, reach out to her and see what her bid would be based on this 3D tour that I sent her. And so, yeah, that just saves so much time, and it gives you that instant credibility versus like, oh, that person's better at SEO, so they showed up at the top. And so that's how I can get multiple different quotes, find someone that's kind of vetted already by independent third-party people, and then, find a good baseline of a person to start with.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say the URL is Thumbtack. So it's THUMB as in thumb, and then TACK.com. So I never heard of this site, so that's interesting. That's a cool resource.
Yeah, man, very, very helpful. I mean, I find all my photographers on there, all my plumbers whenever like a need arises, handyman, etc. You can find basically any kind of service person on there. And again, it's the same process. By having that 3D tour, I can just kind of walk virtually to that toilet and screen cap it and say, hey, this is the toilet that needs fixing. Also with those 3D tours, anytime a guest has a question, let's say like, hey, where's the storage closet, or whatever information they need, like where's the breaker at, I can create a Loom video or just the screen cap and like walk through to that exact location from the living room and help them get to it directly. I couldn't even do that if I was in person. It's amazing just to, like, because of that technology, the 3D tours, I can always have access to it. I can always be in the house if I ever don't remember where something is. If I eventually, when I hire people, I'll also be able to have that resource to where they're going to know the property inside and out, just like I do, because they can walk through it anytime they want.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you hire some virtual assistants, that would be a really good resource for them to have those 3D tours. You mentioned you have your photographers create those.
Yep. So it's either called Matterport or there's a few other ones. But yeah, I mean, it's really a cheap investment. With all the owners that I work with, I pay for the professional photography and the 3D tour, and it's kind of just a way for me to buy into their house and just say, like, look, I don't want to wrestle over price with great photos. I'll pay for them up front. That way I know the listing's going to look great, and the listing's going to perform better. So it's something I'm willing to put in a little bit of investment, because it helps the operations run better, it helps the business do better, and it just shows the owner that, hey man, I'm not going to like disappear from you. Like, I'm putting in my own money as well, and we're going to grow this thing together and be great partners.
So one thing I want to dive into is you told me you have about 2,000 reviews, you said, right?
Yeah, it's like 2,200 now.
That's incredible. And you mentioned that almost 100% of those are 5-star reviews.
Yeah, since 1990, I think since 2018, it's 99.5% 5-star reviews.
Wow.
With a 4.99 overall.
That's incredible. So how are you able to get such a high guest satisfaction score, even though you're managing a fair amount of units, but also in different locations?
So one of the keys to it is, we love to travel. Like I mentioned, with our little guy, we've actually gone to 26 different countries and worked remotely the entire time. And so through that experience of, traveling to all these different Airbnbs, over 135 countries, you get to see a lot of the good and bad of the way things are done. As far as like check-in process, a lot of them are like scavenger hunts, where you're like, okay, you go to this purple mailbox and then you use that to unlock the lock on the bench. And, it's just, there's a lot of ways to do it poorly, but also you've picked up a lot of like, I picked up a lot of great ways to do that. And so the first thing is, quick communication, obviously vital. Next is a very simple and easy check-in that, I use pictures and or videos anytime it's complex, to where, put in your GPS, but once you get here, and I'll have the cleaner record a video going through the parking garage or whatever is necessary to, get into the unit. That way I just have a YouTube link, put that into the check-in message, and it's an easy check-in process. So that's like step one, make it easy to get in, because people are tired, people have been traveling, you just want to make sure they don't have that like, oh God, I just want to lay down, or I just want to, get into the place and I can't find it. You want to just eliminate that. The next thing is the day of the check-in, I text message them so they have my actual personal phone number, to where, it's just that actual extra connection between me and them, where if they have a question, I just let them know like, hey, anytime you have a question, just shoot me a text and I'll take care of it quickly. So that creates that kind of bond immediately. I'll try to make them laugh or something during the text, just to like, show them I'm an actual human and like I care about their stay, because for a lot of these people, this is their one vacation of the year. And, I'm responsible for making sure it's a great one. So I just want them to know like, hey, I'm here. And, it's not to say that things don't mess up at times, but if something does go wrong, I immediately say, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I mean it. And then I will, go on Thumbtack, find someone to fix that issue, or the cleaner. And then I also will be very quick to be like, hey, I'm so sorry that, there was a hair on the pillow. Here's $30 for you and your family to go buy some appetizers on me. We'll get it right. We'll, make sure you have a great rest of your stay. So back to check-in message, I send them a text. The next day after their first night's sleep, I'll send them a quick message just saying, hey, this is Sean. I just want to make sure you're having a great time so far. Please text me if you need anything. And what this does is it, helps discover if there are any issues, so you can take care of them quickly before it becomes something that's left in a review. That way, you address it, make sure they have a great time, and move on. Next message, checkout, day before. I don't send it as, a big, long message in the check-in. I send it the night before when it's relevant information. So that way they know, like, if I can adjust the check-in time or checkout time for them or anything, I can do that then. And then the final thing that I do that's kind of unique, but has really helped with the reviews, is if I know throughout this process of texting them that they're having a great time, what I'll do, and I know like, okay, they had a blast. They've told me a bunch of times, like, we're having a blast. I will write up their review, take a photo of it on my phone, and then text them saying, hey, I just left you a 5-star review, text me, message me anytime you want to come back. Would love to have you. But actually send them a picture of that 5-star review so they can see exactly what I wrote, that it's, not just a great guest. It's a 3-sentence long thing just showing like how awesome they were and how easy they were to communicate and how friendly, and, they left the place looking spotless, etc. And what that does is, it takes away that ambiguity of, am I going to get a review? Is it 4-star, 5-star? It lets them know, look, you're getting a 5-star. Look, it's pretty detailed and very friendly and nice. And, it's already submitted. And so what that does is they almost always reciprocate with a detailed, like, glowing review about how great the communication was, how nice the property was, how I also provided recommendations on what to do outside the home, not just inside the home, because that's something I'm also big on, is just, they're there to see San Diego or whatever city they're in, not just my Airbnb. So I want to make sure they have more fun outside the home than they do inside the home, and just like get to see the actual local experience.
That's a really smart trick. That's something that I've done in the past as well. It works really well. You're really setting the standard, there, right? For the guest, by just, and then the guests will mirror that, right? They kind of mirror the investment.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's a really good one.
Yeah, man. Because I mean, it's like if someone replies thanks with a 1-word thing, you're not going to continue that conversation like in a normal conversation text message. But just like the review, if you leave a 3-line thing, they'll probably leave a 3-line or more thing as well. And that just helps get future bookings and, make sure all those good experiences get a review from it. And you actually get to, put those reviews in the bank, so to speak, after you've worked hard to make sure they have a great time.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that really helps as well. Like if I sometimes look at Airbnb listings and then I see very short reviews. Like the reviews the ratings are good, but then the reviews is like great stay or everything was good, but they're like really short. And I don't know, it just makes me feel like that there's something off there, you know? Whereas if you
Sure.
look at a listing and it's like, you know, every review is like at least a couple of paragraphs, then it just feels more real for some reason.
Well, exactly. You just have so much more context on the experience and the property. And yeah, you're way more likely to book if, you know, there's a bunch of glowing reviews versus the same number of 5 stars, which is like, nice day, thanks, you know,
Yeah,
had fun.
100%.
So yeah.
100%.
And I mean, this is like what's like a thing I read in a book recently that I loved is the best business strategy is a satisfied customer.
Right.
And so, you know, using, you know, during the Legends X, y'all made us do the host oath.
That's
and
right.
the host oath I chose was, if a guest leaves a non 5-star review, I won't take a commission.
Wow.
And so that's what, you know, because I am focused on, you know, maintaining location independence and managing things remotely, that just shows like, look, I've already done it at all these other properties. You know, I have all these great reviews, and I'm so confident that I can do it without being boots on the ground myself, that if I'd ever get a non 5-star review, then I managed that and, you know, did that for free.
Wow, that's a bold statement. I mean, that really shows a lot of confidence for sure. So that's amazing. So what's the future look like for you? Because I know you want to scale this business. Obviously, that's one of the reasons you joined Legends X program. Where do you see yourself and your business in a year from now?
It's tough to know the exact, you know, number of units, et cetera. But my main reason for getting into Legends X when it started was just because, you know, we have a 3.5-year-old now, and, you know, the world is opening back up. I went to a 20,000 person soccer stadium last weekend. It was incredible. No masks. Everyone was high-fiving and everything. It was unbelievable. You know, I want to be able to enjoy life, enjoy travel, but also make sure to keep this same standard of 5-star reviews and great experiences, and continuing to like build these partnerships with these different owners. And so for me, through Legends X, like the ability to actually document all my processes and finally get it all out of my head, to where, you know, I know when a situation happens, like what I need to do, but now like through what y'all have kind of like instilled in us as far as documenting every little thing, it just is a game changer, because now I can confidently, for the first time in any business I've run, pass tasks on to other people and know they'll do, you know, 80 to 90% of as good of a job as I can. And that is what's going to be so amazing, because, you know, right now I'm playing with my little guy and a text comes in about the AC not working, and all of a sudden I'm 200 miles away in my head. And it's going to be so amazing to actually have some team that can, you know, take care of the guest communication part on some level, especially during like the late at night times, and then also help with some of the more mundane tasks, so I can focus on the actual building of relationships with new partners, and, you know, just honing all my automations to just help further grow everything.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, with this business, it's great because there is no like limited market size. And especially since I'm doing it on more of a, you know, national level, you know, there's no shortage of places that I can do this. Plus you bring into in fact that like the world is going to be more remote workers, that, you know, they can work and go for a 3-week vacation somewhere, or they can go for a 5-day trip instead of a 2-day trip in a remote area. You had Starlink, where they have fast internet in all these remote places. And, you know, there's all sorts of like places that have not had internet, that have not been an option for these people, that all of a sudden you add that people can work remote more often, and, you know, it's more comfortable with all these companies because they've gone through it for a year and a half and shown that, hey, that constraint actually, you know, makes our employees happier and they like to be able to work remotely. So yeah, I don't know. I definitely want to get to the legend status and beyond. I mean, I love the business. I love helping making sure people that have great experiences. And I love the fact that I can do this job remotely, be with my guy, my little dude, with Lindsey, and then also just be able to work remotely. Like I want to be able to see the world, and I want to be able to, experience new cultures and learn from other hosts in other places. So, it's definitely, I definitely think I made use of the alive time during COVID and built a business that is ready to scale, is ready to grow. Um, you know, I would be happy to talk to anybody out there that does have a property that's sitting there underperforming. I can manage it remotely. I can do a great job. I'll get 5-star reviews and I'll earn you more money.
That sounds incredible. And yeah, I mean, your brand is right up with the trend of digital nomads, remote workers, right? Your brand stay, work, and play is an incredibly aligned with that whole movement. So I'm sure you'll be able to expand that really well. So last question. Like I know you got into shorter rentals through your partner Lindsey. What did you do before in your previous life?
So I've kind of been an entrepreneur forever. Like during my MBA at Texas Tech, I started a business that was a discount card for college students. And so that was just me, cold calling a lot of different businesses, going in, putting them as the one pizza place on my VIP card, or the one tanning salon, or the one golf course. And then I would, distribute those cards to all the college bookstores. Then I would sell those cards for $20 a piece through different fundraising groups, et cetera. So anyway, I did that business for 10 years. I'm a big golfer, or used to be before Jackson. And, I had that business in Austin and in Dallas, Texas, where it was all focused on golf courses, where you'd get a buy one, get one free round at all the different public courses. And then you'd get access to play these private golf courses as well, even if you weren't a member. And so, through that, just a lot of driving around, a lot of, cold calling, walking in, talking to people, creating everything from A to Z with my business with that for 10 years. So I had to learn how, graphic designer is expensive. So I had to learn how to graphic design. Okay, the website's expensive, so I need to learn how to do the website. So, very much have done all sorts of things, but I've always fallen into that superhero entrepreneur trap where I do everything. And, this is finally something where now I feel like I can actually use the systems, delegate things, get myself out of that kind of rat race so I can actually work, on the business and scale it. So yeah, I mean, my hat's off to you and the rest of the Legends X team, because not only are you like teaching people how to thrive in this business, but you're teaching them like the big missing chunk in any business. And if you can nail this here, and if there's another interest down the road, you can apply a lot of these same principles, and you'll be set up for success no matter what.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really why we started the program, because that's what we recognize, that there are so many people out there like yourself who are doing an incredible job at being a host, right? I mean, you got 2,000 5-star reviews. I mean, like you should probably have your own podcast teaching people how to do that, right? But what people are struggling with is not so much the hosting side, it's how do you actually build a real business, right? How do you go from being a micromanager or a one-person business essentially to growing a team and having systems in place where you can outsource and you can start taking yourself out of the business? And that's, like you said, that's something that every single entrepreneur in the world, not just in the short-term rental business, like anybody who starts a business has to learn that, right? And that's it's a very difficult process, right? Because you got to get everything out of your head, you got to put it into documentation, right? Which we do with the playbook. And then you have to hire people, and then you have to mentally also be okay with the fact that they're not going to do it as good as you do, right? So there's a lot of mental struggles there as well. So it's a challenge. It's a challenging process, but it's a necessary process if you ever want to really become a business owner, or if you just want to basically, otherwise you just create a job for yourself, right?
Exactly, man. It's being owned by the business instead of owning a business.
That's right.
And,
Well said.
you know, yeah. And I mean, I'm so excited because every business I've ever run, I've always hit that kind of like that wall where you just kind of burn out. Or with the VIP cards, you know, one thing that would happen to me is I would work so hard during the summer and I'd sign up these 35 different companies and I'd get the card made. But then all the cards would come in and I would have to like mail out all the envelopes and do all this stuff. And I wasn't able to actually do the important things that could have happened during that part of the business because I was like doing all the minutia. And yeah, like the one thing I also listened to recently talks about, you know, whenever you put something out in the world, you know, it can either be the starting line or the finish line. And with like the VIP cards, I'd put it out and I'd be like, okay, it's out. And I wouldn't even like push myself to sell as many as I could, or, you know that was actually like when things really started. And so now finally, you know, I've grown a nice business already. I've done it all by myself, you know, with the co-hosting stuff. But now through Legends X, you know, when I'm complete with that course in the next 30 days, that's not going to be like a finish line for me. It's going to be the starting line.
That's
and
right.
I'm so excited to, you know, putting all the systems in place, start delegating some tasks and just see where it goes. Because this market is unlimited.
Yeah.
And, you know, the tourism that's about to come back like post-COVID is going to be unbelievable. And yeah, there's so many people out there that have an extra property, or, you know, like someone in their family passes away and they don't know what they're going to do with that house, that, you know, people like us that know this business can make that, instead of like a worry, into something that can actually help them out, keep that family in their, or keep that home in their family, and, you know, to help create wealth for all these different people.
Awesome, man.
So
love that. So just to wrap this podcast up, where can people find you? And that's for property owners, but also for people that want to stay in one of your places.
So right now you can go to swapcohosting.com, or you can go to stayworkandplay.com, and you can get to the co-hosting part through a link. From that, you can find all the properties I manage, but also just kind of see more about how I work, everything that I, you know, provide to the different homeowners with my services. And then another place you can find me is actually I'm on Clubhouse quite a bit. Our own Julie George has invited me up on her, you know, stage plenty of times, and she does it 5 o'clock Central on Sundays. And I definitely recommend, you know, anyone listening to this is obviously very serious about this Airbnb business and like wants to learn, wants to get better. You know, if you go on Clubhouse, you can find some great content. Continue to listen to Jasper and, you know, all the amazing guests he has. And then I would definitely give a strong look at Legends X, because not only is it amazing what you guys have taught us, but one thing you do that's really smart is the kind of accountability pods, where once a week we have to actually communicate with the other 5 or 6 people in our group about, you know, our struggles and what we went through that week. And I can't tell you how incredible it is to actually have people that are going through the same problems I am, that, you know, they're not just business problems, they're like a specific business problem to the short-term rental business. And to have people that are, you know, 5,000 reviews, you know, it's like unbelievable the amount of like quality people that are, you know, in the Legends X program. And like, I know I'll be friends with those people for decades. And we have this shared experience coming through this program, learning, and I think we'll all be, you know, very successful in this business, all way less stressed out than when we came into it, and just, you know, set up for success. So bravo on setting it up that way, to where you do have to be accountable and you do have these people that you're going through it with that you can communicate with throughout the process.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I'm glad to hear that you're really enjoying it. And I totally agree. The community aspect of it is really important. And I can't wait till we actually can go get together and
Hell yeah, man.
That would be just absolutely fantastic.
Can't wait to have my first Jasper Rivers beer.
And so if you want to check out Sean's website, stayworkandplay.com. There's lots of cool info on there. You can see his properties. There's a lot of cool stuff on there, actually. So go ahead, check it out if you want to stay at one of his places, or if you have a home, if you have a some property that you're looking for a solution, then Sean is the man to help you out with that. So with that said, Sean, I really appreciate you being in our program. Really appreciate you coming on to the podcast. So thank you so much for bringing the positive energy as well. And yeah, we'll look forward to working with you in the future.
Absolutely, Jasper. Thanks so much for all you do. And yeah, anyone listening, you know, we all started with one property or one room. And, you know, if you love people and you love showing them a great experience, like this is a business that's only going to grow.
That's right.
And anybody can do it. You know, there's plenty of great content out there. Keep listening to this podcast and you'll be in great shape.
Awesome. Sweet. Thank you, Sean. And to the listeners, thank you for listening. And next week, we'll have another Legends X student on the podcast, so another story, more inspiration. So we'll see you then. Bye-bye.